Hello out there and good morning, traders. It's January 22nd, 2024, and welcome to the Apteros Daily Market Insight for the ES. As usual, we'll jump into our recap and then we will update our levels for today. So, taking a look at what was going on with our planning from the 19th, we had a line in the sand that had a bullish bias to it, with scenario one being bullish and holding up above it, scenario two being a possible breakdown that line in the sand. Now, one of the critical aspects on the 19th is that I mentioned this particular neutral reference was going to be really important to us for the overall plan on the session. If we were able to get above it, we were going to look for more continuation to the upside into a possible stretch target. If we were holding below it, we were going to look for deeper pullbacks into our neutral reference and then, of course, into our line in the sand area. So you can pretty much see in the price over here how things kind of played out along with our DMI. We did not clear out the neutral reference here. We started to pull back from it. Then we started to hold right around our neutral area here, our neutral reference. And this really was a chance to start looking to get on the long side with scenario one. Now, once we started to see the move back up here, it didn't quite get to our first destination area, which was that neutral reference. Does a second pullback, of course. And once again, more inflections to the upside for us, sticking with our bias. And we get right into our target area here. And that essentially was the main trade for the DMI. That's what I was essentially looking for within the scope of the planning. And then, of course, we got a little something extra, didn't we? In this particular section of price movement here, we started to see acceptance above our neutral area. Part of our plan with the DMI was that if we got up above this neutral area here, we had a lot of open space and we were heading up into another neutral type of target up above here that was based on rhythm. So what I was really looking at was, okay, if we get up above this neutral reference and we get a pullback, are there opportunities to get long and then continue with our narrative? And that's essentially what we ended up seeing for the afternoon session in the ES, with a really clean move to the upside too. No real pullbacks after the initial one here, getting close to our neutral area, and then just continuing up and almost tagging our rhythm-based target in the session itself. And of course, then going sideways for a little bit and then breaking out in the overnight here coming through the weekend. So it was one of those sessions where we had our bias nailed from our line in the sand. We had our plan pretty well laid out, even without a full pullback into our line in the sand area, and we just got on board with a bias. Remember that this particular part here, this really was the main idea for the DMI. That was the kind of trade that we were looking for. And then we got a little something extra once we got into this section here, seeing that we started to really get bullish in this market. And of course, getting on board with a pullback. It doesn't quite pull all the way back into the neutral zone there, but a nice inflection nonetheless, and a continuation up into our stretch target. So now taking a look at what we have for today, there's no official DMI going out for today. We are out in open space, as we call it, in the natural world. There are not a lot of references or things to go off of here. There's not a lot of market-generated information, besides the fact that we have made a push to the bullish side, and we are currently sitting outside of extremes on multiple time frames. So at this particular juncture, there is no official plan. There's no official scenarios where price is currently sitting. However, if we do get a deeper pullback and we get a move all the way down into this bullish area here, this is our first real line in the sand that we can use for any type of actual narrative context based trading at this juncture. So looking at scenario one, that would be a hold of that line in the sand and then a possible reach back up into this zone here. Scenario two would be a breakdown of that and then a possible traversal into that neutral area, and then maybe a continuation down into this lower area here. This would be the full on narrative target if that line in the sand broke down. But most of these neutral references are very good for taking scalp targets and so forth, along with that scenario two breakdown of that line in the sand. Now, keep this in mind that if we do end up seeing a deeper pullback into this line in the sand area, there will be intraday things along the way that you could probably use, dynamic references, things that are changing with you to help you kind of navigate this open space. But this is the main reason why I'm not putting out an official DMI for today. There's just no real references, value building up here. There's no real market generated information for us to dig into to really have a solid read on the risk reward landscape for today. And that's where our edge is. So if you're looking at a situation and narrative and context where it's like, well, it's not clear and this is essentially kind of a coin flip, well, there's no reason to actually push a context into a market that doesn't necessarily have one. Like I said, the things that we can say about this market is that we've been bullish. We're pushing out into upper extremes on multiple time frames. So, is a pullback possible? Yeah, but so is continuation. And if you want to, this neutral area up into here, this can kind of be looked at in that way too, right? If we hold below it, you can look for, pullbacks. If we hold above it, you can continue with the bullishness. But once again, there's nothing official here besides the pullbacks coming into our line in the sand area. If we get that, and if we get back into this line in the sand area, then we can start looking at scenario 1 being bullish up above this zone, or scenario 2 being bearish if it breaks down. All right. So apologize that there's no real official DMI for today. These are my levels. This is the plan. There is not a lot of contextual and narrative-based edge in where we are sitting currently in the ES market. So just keep that in mind and trade well and mind your risk.